I'd be out in the club and this African dude would roll up and say, I am the real Prince.
Yes, I do.
You stole my life from me.
One time when I was with him privately, he said, you know what the elevator is, right?
No.
I said, no, what's the elevator? He said, well, the elevator is the devil. The one thing that, kind of spooked me about it all was he has a song called Let's Go Crazy.
Yeah.
And it says, don't let the elevator bring us down.
Prince's influence left a profound impact on many, including Eddie Murphy, who openly acknowledged this connection. In a revealing interview, Eddie Murphy recounted a surreal experience he had once shared with the late music icon Prince at the musician's residence.
It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and we're at his house, and Prince goes, who wants to go roller skating? He was like, what? And we went to this roller rink at like 3 in the morning.
Eddie Murphy mentioned that Prince had skates that would light up as he skated, similar to the way some sneakers light up when you walk, and according to him, it was a magical moment. He said, you know how some sneakers, when you walk, they would light up? He had skates that when he skated, they would light up. Fallon responded, that's bizarre, to which Murphy replied, it was surreal. Another comedian who spoke about Prince's untimely demise was Cat Williams. Turns out Cat and Prince were tight. They were in sync about the important stuff, musical genius, the ladies, and of course those sweet rides. Cat even revealed how they helped each other out in various ways, especially in navigating the tough business side of things.
He was just an amazing individual. I was able to meet him when I was 12, and I knew him my entire life through all of his changes. It is me, because we share certain things. Our connection was lyrics, musical lyrics, women, and cars. He got left out on a limb and somehow still had to create his way out of that. He was just really a 1 in a billion type person. I was lucky to know him.
So when Cat Williams hinted that he's got the lowdown on what really went down with Prince's departure, it was not just some random dude speculating. It's someone who was there, someone who shared more than just a few laughs with the purple one. Also, in a 2022 interview with Arsenio Hall, Cat spilled the beans on how he was inspired by Prince and spent a cool 5 years as a rapper before transitioning into the comedy scene. Turns out this whole journey kicked off after a meetup with the purple one at the ripe age of 12. According to Cat, this encounter went down in Dayton, Ohio, where Prince was doing his thing at the University of Dayton Arena. And get this, Cat claims he knew Prince his entire life, considering him a guiding force. He even credits the legendary singer for boosting his self-esteem to new heights, calling Prince the reason he's got that confident swagger. Now, in classic Cat Williams style, he goes on to drop some wisdom about Prince being a high thinker and a dude always 30 steps ahead of the curve. I mean, we all know Prince was a musical genius playing more instruments than most of us can name. But here's the kicker. Cat suggests that Prince taught him a thing or two about embracing your uniqueness. According to Cat, Prince basically said, hey, you can be short, light-skinned with long hair, and as long as the ladies love you, who cares what others think?
He was a high thinker and a guy that was always 30 steps ahead of whatever the curve was.
Some fans are connecting the dots between Cat saying Prince was always 30 steps ahead and the cryptic stuff Prince said before he left us. People are throwing around theories that maybe Cat was clued into something Prince knew, something sinister, like folks plotting to take Prince out. You know how Prince was known for dropping cryptic lines, and some believe he might have let Cat in on the scoop. Now let's dive deep into the rabbit hole of the theories surrounding Prince's death, because some folks out there think the official reports are nothing but a bunch of BS. Alright, let's talk about the weird puzzle pieces that don't quite fit when it comes to Prince's health. Now, we all know Prince was the poster child for clean living, right? Vegan, no booze abuse, a workout routine that probably put us all to shame, the whole shebang. So when the news hit that he died from a painkiller overdose, it was like, wait, what? Even the big shots in the industry like L.A. Reid were scratching their heads. In a chat on CBS, Louisiana Reid spills the beans that he believed Prince was all good in the health department. The guy was health conscious to the max. Vegan lifestyle, no alcohol binges, and definitely not known for popping pills. But here's where it gets real odd. The interviewer asks Reid about Prince's health problems, and L.A. Reid's like, I don't know. He spills the tea on how Prince's commitment to staying healthy actually freaked him out. Like, if you're doing everything right, eating green, pumping iron, the whole deal, and still kick the bucket early, what's the deal?
Right. What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him abusing. You know, that also really concerned me because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so young?
Now, There were whispers that Prince wasn't doing so hot in the weeks leading up to his departure. Canceled shows, emergency landings, and a dose of an anti-opiate things were clearly off. But here's the head-scratcher. If he OD'd less than a month before, why wasn't he under the watchful eye of a doc? I mean, common sense, right? The fact that Prince wasn't getting the medical TLC he needed is raising some eyebrows, especially when you consider the business side of things. If you're booking tour dates, you'd want to make sure the headliner is in top shape, right? No unexpected cancellations, especially at the big venues. It's like we're missing a crucial piece of the puzzle here, and the mystery of Prince's health just keeps getting weirder. Also, this Prince mystery, seriously, it's like a plot straight out of a thriller movie. So here's the thing. Prince was found in the same elevator he once called the devil. Yeah, you heard that right. Reed spilled the spooky details on CBS, and it's enough to give you chills. You see, the circumstances surrounding Prince's death inside an elevator were particularly eerie, according to Reed, especially given Prince's known apprehensions about elevators. As depicted in the following video from E.T., Prince's friend Reed discussed the unsettling discovery of Prince's lifeless body in an elevator.
One time when I was with him privately, he said, "You know what the elevator is, right?" No. I said, "No, what's the elevator?" He said, "Well, the elevator is the devil."
According to E.T., Reed shared Prince's aversion to elevators. Prince held a belief that elevators were sinister in nature, often referring to them as instruments of the devil. This perspective on elevators was encapsulated in Prince's 1984 song, "Let's Go Crazy." In the song's lyrics, Prince likened elevators to malevolent forces that might attempt to bring a person down. He sang about the struggle to ascend by pressing a higher floor button, symbolizing his defiance against the negative influence he associated with elevators. He sings, "And if the elevator tries to bring you down, go crazy, punch a higher floor. If you don't like the world you're living in, take a look around you. At least you got friends. You see, I called my old lady for a friendly word. She picked up the phone, dropped it on the floor. Ah, is all I heard. Are we gonna let the elevator bring us down? Oh no, let's go." Reed recounted a conversation he had with Prince regarding the artist's feelings about elevators. This discussion left Reed feeling uncomfortable as it delved into the topic of the devil, something he was uneasy discussing. The news of Prince's lifeless discovery in an elevator on the first floor of Paisley Park, Prince's residence and studio, deeply perturbed Reed, given the context of their previous conversation. One time when I was with him privately, he said, "You know what the elevator is, right?" I said, "No, what's the elevator?" He said, "Well, the elevator is the devil." It scared me. I don't like to talk like that, but he said that. So for me, it was like really haunting when I read that he was found in an elevator. But the oddities don't end there. People are really confused about why Prince was alone at Paisley Park. Sure, he was incredibly private, but seriously? No servants, no security, no assistants, nothing? It's looking pretty suspicious. I mean, you'd think someone would be around, especially given his status. And then it gets even weirder. There were rumors and predictions that Prince was heading towards some sort of destiny. His last Instagram post right before his unexpected death had people talking. It was a picture of him with the caption, "Just when you thought you were safe." Now, Prince was known for being cryptic, but this post had folks thinking he knew something was coming. Plus, it turns out he might have predicted his own death not once, but twice. At a party at Paisley Park just days before he died, Prince reportedly told everyone, "Wait a few days before you waste any prayers." If that's not a cryptic message, I don't know what is. And here's where it gets even creepier. There's a rumor that Prince put himself in danger by talking about the controversial topic of chemtrails. In an interview, he shared memories from his childhood of seeing these trails in the sky. Interesting, right? But then he mentioned how everyone in his neighborhood started fighting and arguing after these trails appeared. For context, there's a theory that the government uses jet trails to spread chemicals for population control. Prince talking about this on TV supposedly upset some powerful people.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time and say, "Oh, that's cool. A jet just went over." And then you started to see a whole bunch of.
And if that's not strange enough, here's something even spookier. In an episode of The Simpsons called Treehouse of Horror, there's a segment where Homer Simpson takes out several celebrities, including one referred to as the Purple One. The unique guitar makes it obvious they're talking about Prince, and it's supposedly on government orders. Whether it's just an eerie coincidence or something more sinister, it definitely sends chills down your spine. Now let's dive into Prince's epic battle with Warner Brothers. This story is a saga in itself. Back when Prince was a huge star signed to Warner Brothers, he started fighting for control over his music. He famously said, "I own the work because I paid for it and I did all the work." In other words, he created his music, so he believed it should belong belonged to him. But as you might guess, the record companies saw things differently.
The way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise.
Prince waged a war against Warner Brothers, fighting tooth and nail for ownership of his rights and more creative control. It wasn't a walk in the park, especially since he was trying to break free from a deal he signed when he was just 19. The battle got so real that he famously started appearing with the word slave on his face in 1999, a bold statement to say the least. In an interview with Paper Mag, Prince spilled the tea on wanting to buy back his masters from Warner Brothers. Their response? A solid no way. So what did Prince do? He dropped a bomb saying, "I'm going to re-record them, all of them." Picture this, 2 catalogs with almost the same music, but Prince's version, well, that's going to be the superior one. You can either toss your money to the big company or support NPG, New Power Generation, he said. The man had choices, and he wanted you to make them. Prince didn't hold back about the industry's grip on artists in other interviews either. He laid it out plain and simple, saying, as long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. Only a select few make it big, while the majority are left in the dust.
As long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well. The majority will not.
Fast forward a bit, and Prince eventually cut ties with Warner Brothers, but plot twist, he rejoined them in 2014, this time with ownership of his old masters. There was a catch, though. The label held the global licensing rights. Now here's where the conspiracy theories kick in. Some fans are whispering that maybe, just maybe, the industry wasn't too happy about Prince reclaiming control, and that might have played a part in the tragic turn of events. Anyway, despite all the mystery and speculation, Prince remains one of the most influential musicians ever. His incredible career spanned more than 4 decades, and he sold over 100 million records worldwide, a feat only a few artists have achieved. Prince's impact on the music world is beyond measure. And while he's best known for his groundbreaking music, he also ventured into film.
It's in bloom. Animals strike curious poses.
Prince's versatility went beyond his music. It extended to his image as well. He became a style icon by embracing androgynous, challenging traditional gender norms, and breaking free from racial stereotypes. His bands often included talented female members, and he was a strong advocate for women in the music industry throughout his career. However, his commitment to empowering women also led to various rumors and speculations, which contributed to his increasing disillusionment with the industry.
Don't be fooled by the internet. It's cool to get on.
In the music industry, Prince emerged as a trailblazer and, at times, a contentious champion of artist rights. Throughout the 1990s, he engaged in open conflicts with the music industry, resorting to protests such as etching the word slave onto his cheek and adopting an unpronounceable glyph as his name. These bold actions were his means of expressing profound dissatisfaction with the major label system. He said, "Record contracts are just like, I'm going to say the word slavery. I would tell any young artist, don't sign." Furthermore, in a 1996 interview with the Los Angeles Times, Prince conveyed such a deep distaste for the music industry that he disclosed a longing to have pursued an entirely different career. He exclaimed, "If I knew the things I know now before, I wouldn't be in the music industry." If Prince were an emerging artist in 2022, he would likely thrive in today's music landscape. Modern artists have more independence and don't rely as heavily on major labels to manage their careers. Prince, with his musical genius and entrepreneurial spirit, demonstrated that artists can be both creative powerhouses and savvy business people, challenging the old notion that these decisions should be left solely to corporate executives.
There is a war going on, the battlefield's in the mind, and the prize is the soul.
When contemplating Prince, our minds conjure the image of a versatile genius, adept at composing, producing, mastering various musical instruments, and possessing dance skills that rivaled even his backing performers. Elevating Prince to the forefront of our consciousness, we unmistakably associate him with sensuality, evident through his overtly provocative style. His music becomes synonymous with intimate, bedroom-friendly melodies, and we perceive the man, in his own renowned words, as an individual of immense allure and magnetism.
Mainly I sensed a great deal of negativity and entropy in the music. There's was a disintegration.
However, in the midst of the undeniable S undertones prevalent in Prince's music, and even within his persona, we also discover another facet that has historically clashed with S religion. Indeed, the complex interplay between S and religion has been a source of tension, with the Catholic Church, for instance, long considering the topic a taboo.
Yes, it's not bad. I'm talking about it's very spiritual in nature, and that's a God-given gift too.
Nonetheless, for an artist exuding undeniable sensuality, Prince maintained an unwavering faith in God. I like to believe my inspiration comes from God. I've always known God is my creator. Without him, nothing works, he once affirmed. Prince's faith may have been deeply rooted in his early life, marked by a miraculous event. He was born epileptic, yet miraculously his condition was cured. As a child, Prince reportedly confided in his mother, suggesting that an angel had foretold his healing, though Prince himself has occasionally expressed uncertainty about recalling this specific conversation with his mother.
My mother told me one day I walked into her and said, Mom, I'm not going to be sick anymore. And she said, why? And I said, because an angel told me so.
Prince was initially raised as a Seventh-day Adventist, but later in life he embraced the faith of Jehovah's Witnesses. Both of these religions are sometimes considered to be on the fringes of mainstream Christianity. Nevertheless, Prince's unwavering belief in God remains undeniable, particularly when we delve into the themes present in his music. One particular track on which Prince's faith in Christ is evident is the opener of 1984's Purple Rain, which opens with the sermon-like line, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life," as well as a funeral procession-esque organ solo to boot. In 1997, Prince disclosed that the track served as a metaphor symbolizing the conflict between Christ and Satan. However, it was presented as a metaphor rather than a direct and overt reference to his faith. This approach was likely due to the reluctance of radio stations to promote songs with explicit religious themes. As I wrote it, Let's Go Crazy was about God and the de-elevation of sin, Prince said. But the problem was that religion as a subject is taboo in pop music. People think that the records they release have got to be hip, but what I need to do is to tell the truth. I had to change those words up, but the elevator was Satan. I had to change the words up because you couldn't say God on the radio, and Let's Go Crazy was God to me. It was stay happy, stay focused, and you can beat the elevator. Are we gonna let the elevator bring us down? Oh no, let's go! Prince ingeniously navigated the radio censorship restrictions to convey his pastor-like wisdom on the transformative role God can play in our lives when embraced. Notably, the track re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 charts after Prince's untimely death in 2016, surging as high as number 26 just 3 weeks following his passing.
That is kind of like a black hole, and it's hard to audit, it's hard to get accounting, and it's not that it's just about the money.
While much of our initial conceptions of Prince seem at odds with religion, what with all the overt sexiness we find in his music, it is evident that Prince found solace in God, which in many ways eases the pain of his sad and early exit from this life. The Revenant Prince proclaims, "I'm here to tell you there's something else, the afterworld, a world of never-ending happiness. You can always see the sun, day or night." However, there were some people who slammed him for the reference of Satan in his songs. Sinead O'Connor alleged that Prince was involved in devil business and recounted an incident where she perceived him as being violent during a pillow fight. The singer stated that she was called to the late music icon's residence for a meeting in 1991, shortly after achieving global success with her cover of his song, Nothing Compares to You. In her memoir, Rememberings, she claimed that the irises of Prince's eyes vanished as he stood at the front door of his Hollywood property, leading her to fear that he might be deeply involved in the occult.
Yeah, I think I was very young. I wasn't ready for the type of success, in inverted commas, that happened. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't really setting out to be a pop star.
Further discussing the moment in an interview with The Times, she said, "That is as true as God. I believe he was involved in devil business because an old girlfriend of his told me he had the power to make his move around the room. He got me up there to see, could this be one of mine? I guess he didn't bank on the Irish and me telling him to go of himself. Sinead, who in the 1990s received ordination as a priest from Bishop Michael Cox of the Irish Orthodox Catholic and Apostolic Church and currently practices as a Muslim, also detailed in her book a distressing encounter with Prince. She asserted that he struck her with an object concealed within a pillowcase during a pillow fight and described instances of him allegedly stalking her with his car and chasing her down the road after escaping from what she described as a macabre mansion.
But it's very hopeful, isn't it? He obviously intends to get her back.
Yes.
He's getting her back because she's coming home.
The Irish singer stated that there were multiple factors contributing to Prince's violent behavior during their meeting. Sinead explained, firstly, Prince didn't like people covering his songs. Secondly, he had all these female proteges and he was annoyed that I wasn't one of them. Moreover, Sinead also characterized Prince as a violent A of women and alleged that he terrorized and physically A her during her visit to his Hollywood mansion in the 1990s. These claims were also featured in her memoir, which was previewed in a New York Times profile, a publication that occurred 4 years after Prince's unfortunate death from a drug overdose. She wrote that Prince summoned her to his macabre Hollywood mansion, chastised her for swearing in interviews, harangued his butler to serve her soup though she repeatedly refused it, and sweetly suggested a pillow fight, only to thump her with something hard he'd slipped into his pillowcase, the Times reported. When she escaped on foot in the middle of the night, she writes, he stalked her with his car, leapt out and chased her around the highway. In her own words, Sinead wrote, "You've got to be crazy to be a musician, but there's a difference between being crazy and being a violent A of women." However, the massive public was always on Prince's side, and they never seemed to be lingered by Sinead's narrative. His untimely demise really left the audience in shock and many questions unanswered. In addition to the official conspiracy theories surrounding Prince's death, such as TMZ's suggestion of a drug overdose and the National Enquirer's mention of AIDS, the internet has given rise to various speculations about the circumstances of the musical genius's passing. Some even pointed out curious connections like The Simpsons, supposedly predicting Prince's death.
Playing second fiddle to Michael Jackson, and perhaps that had something to do with the fact that the episode never got made.
The 19th episode of The Simpsons' annual Treehouse of Horror series included a segment where Homer Simpson eliminates several celebrities, including Prince, whom he supposedly killed using the singer's distinctive shaped guitar. Some individuals have interpreted this as possible evidence that the animated comedy series had foreknowledge of Prince's eventual death, which took place 8 years later, and have even suggested the involvement of the Illuminati in these speculations. Moreover, there is an interesting story about Prince holding back an album due to a negative ecstasy trip. His Black album was initially set to be released in 1987, but just before its release, he withdrew the album. Insiders claim that Prince believed releasing the album would have an evil influence, and he reportedly expressed that he couldn't subject the world to it. The album was eventually released in 1994.
All the girls and all the boys, get close. Have no fear.
Prince's enigmatic nature and statements have led some people to believe that he may have predicted his own death. His brief and somewhat awkward interaction with social media included his last Instagram post just before his passing. This post featured a picture of him along with the since-deleted message, "Just when you thought you were safe." Given Prince's tendency for mysterious pronouncements, some more conspiracy-minded individuals on the internet have interpreted this message to suggest that he might have had a premonition or sense that he was in some form of danger. However, such interpretations are speculative and not based on concrete evidence. One of his friends, Maya Washington, said, "Before you meet him, you have the idea of him being this thing. He's untouchable, he's a unicorn, he's a meta-planet." So the first thing I was taken aback by, and a lot of people are taken aback by, is his size. Because I'm short, I'm 5'3", and he's shorter than me. But that aside, he is a unicorn. He's somehow floating when he's talking. Some individuals have suggested that Prince may have predicted his own death during his final public appearance at a party held at Paisley Park, shortly after receiving treatment for an overdose and just days before his passing. According to reports, Prince told those in attendance, "Wait a few days before you waste any prayers." This statement has led to speculation and interpretations that he might have had a foreboding sense of his impending death. However, it's important to note that such interpretations are based on the circumstances surrounding his final final days and remains speculative.
He left everything on the stage. He gave us his all. He did around 4 encores.
And he was dead after some time. Music legend Prince died after taking what he thought was Vicodin, but was actually a counterfeit painkiller that was laced with fentanyl, a Minnesota prosecutor said, in announcing that he would not be filing criminal charges in Prince's death. In all likelihood, Prince had no idea he was taking a counterfeit pill that could kill him, Carver County Attorney Mark Metz said at a news conference in Chaska. Others around Prince also likely did not know that the pills were counterfeit containing fentanyl. Despite an intensive investigation, there is no reliable evidence showing how Prince obtained the counterfeit Vicodin laced with fentanyl, or who was involved in procuring those pills, Metz said. This has compounded the shock and sorrow of his departure for his fans, still wondering why he died of an opioid overdose and why his multi-million-dollar estate is still such a mess.